Hello, everybody. My name is Favor, and in today's class, I'll be teaching you layout or giving a brief introduction on layout and how we use layout in our designs to make our designs better. First of all, what is layout? Layout is the arrangement of visual elements on a page or screen. And what is the purpose? To communicate a message effectively. I don't know if you've seen some designs that are basically just hard for you to get which is what this design is trying to say. You understand? So those are basically just examples of designs with a bad layout. So a well-structured design with a good layout should be able to communicate the message effectively. So why layout matters? So layout matters because it guides the viewer's eyes. It shows you how to read the designs. It improves readability. It creates consistency and it strengthens communication. So create consistency is there are some certain brands that work with a particular style of layout. You understand? So you see them image that is subject by the right, then right up by the left. If you check those brand now, for you to understand what they are trying to do is easy. Why? Because they are using a great layout that works great for them and passes the communication they want to pass to their audience effectively, which also strengthens communication, boosting their sale and growing their audience. You understand? So what are the core principles of layout? A good layout must have balance, alignment. So you would have heard me mention a lot about using a ruler. You understand? So for Pixel Lab has this grid, but if you're working with Photoshop has this ruler. If you press Ctrl R on your Photoshop, you see this thing that comes up, this graduated scale that comes up by the up of your workspace. You understand? So you can add a ruler to your workspace so that you'll be able to align your layout perfectly. Or on Pixel Lab, you can use grid to align your designs effectively. And hierarchy is also a good use of layout. For example, now you're working with a design that has a heading, subheading, and content. So on the normal notes, the heading is meant to have the largest font size. For example, that heading in that design should carry like something like a 40 pixel font size, while the subheading will carry something like a 20 pixel font size, while the content could carry something like 15, so that when the viewer is trying to view your design, they know that the main message is this, the sub message is this, while the content of the main message and the sub message is this. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain for you here. Yeah. So we also have proximity and white space. So there are some designs that don't have white space. And what do I mean by white space? White space is just like basically arrangement. You understand? So a group of elements can be in one side. Like for example, now some designs, your social media position, it can be at the bottom, or anything concerning social media should be in one place. Not that Facebook will be here, Instagram will be here, X handle will be here. It just gives the whole design a scattered layout. You understand? So white space, we can actually use white space, also known as blank space, in guiding our layouts. You understand? And it makes our designs more balanced, because there are a lot of designs that they don't have a particular white space, so everything is just jam packed. The design is choky, and it's hard for the reader to actually comprehend what the designer is actually trying to communicate through that design. And like I said earlier, consistency. A layout must be consistent. You understand? Consistent. You cannot use a 20 pixel font size for your heading and use a 40 pixel for the subheading. It gives the layout an unbalanced feel. You understand? So like I said, balance. We have two types of balance: symmetrical and asymmetrical, and use of harmony and dynamism. You understand? Okay. So we have alignment. Like I said earlier, use of ruler, use of grid in making our layout straight. So let me just show you a few examples of alignment in some of my designs. So let's look at this one for example now. If you will notice, you see this like I said, let me just give you a quick brief on this what do they call it, hierarchy. So look at this design now. The join hierarchy and compatibility circle is the header. You understand? So I actually use this yellow this yellow shape right here to depict that is actually like a subheading on a subtopic or a sub message. You feel me? Build your UK business, achieve your goals, earn more with a community that pushes you forward. While the content, I enclose the whole content in this rectangle. You understand? So the benefits of Harry's accountability circle is basically in this rectangle. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And for this design, I use the image on the right and content by the left style of layout. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So for this design, why? Okay, you might ask, why did I use that type of layout? Number one, on this part of the world, like majority, we read from left to the right. So except from all these Arabic countries and the rest that actually read from right to the left. So that is a perfect way you can use right to left to layout. For example, the image will be by the right, then the right top, the content will be by the left. So for your layout to be balanced, most especially for social media designs like this, you have to use this type of layouts, because the reader is more likely to be from the population that reads from left to the right, so that they can comprehend your message effectively. So another way we can see the use of alignment is this. If you noticed in this design, you see, just take note of this the logo, the Zealot Academy. Everything from the logo to the header to the sub to the message, then to the content, and to this rectangle, everything is aligned in a straight line. I understand. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say here. You understand? So this is where the function of a ruler comes in, your grid or your ruler. You understand? So I actually used the grid on Pixel Lab to align this stuff so that they will be straight, and it gives my layout this balanced look, and which is actually part of the benefits of alignment. It keeps elements organized. So tell me that you saw this design and it does not look organized in your eyes. So let's proceed. So hierarchy, like I said, shows the importance, choose size, weight, color, and position. Example, headline, from headline to sub-headline to body, then to call to action. You understand? So this is a good use of hierarchy. Gadget blog, you understand? Let me check for another design that uses hierarchy. So this one, the join Harry's accountability circle acts as the header, while the build your UK business acts as the subheading, while this other one here act as the content. So from this design, you can actually see the position of the hierarchy from the header to the subheader, then to the content, before you see the call to action. You understand? So that is actually a good example of hierarchy. I hope you are understanding this class and actually taking note of the things I'm making mention of. You understand? So proximity and white space. We use proximity and white space by grouping related items, separating unrelated items, and empty space to give your design breathing room. You understand? So we group everything here as the content. I grouped everything in this build your UKI business as the sub message or as the subheading. I group everything here as the payment and the call to action. You understand? So I hope you are getting what I'm trying to pass. And as you can see, from this top section to this area, there's nothing there. Is actually a blank space that actually gives our design a breathing space. So this is actually another example of a design where clear space or white space are used. See this one also too. You understand? This one, they are actually blank space where there's nothing there, or there are elements with little visibility. Like if you check here now, you can see this background stuff that is there. You understand? So that actually explains that. So in a design, a layout must be consistent repeating of fonts, colors, placements that actually creates rhythm and brand identity. Okay, so for this design, I think I use just one font for this design. Okay, two fonts. The first font is this one that has the brand's name, Resi Communication, while the second font is this Gadget Plug, and the rest fonts here are just the same font with different font weight. You understand? Some are semi-bold, some are thin, while some are heavy. You understand? So in your designs on the norm, you are supposed to use maximum 3 fonts. The first fonts can be sans serif font, that is fonts like this, or the next one you could use something that has rounded edge, a font that have rounded edge, while the last font you could use is script fonts like this. You understand? So those script fonts you can actually use them in this type of scenario, like for the name, or in designs or event designs where you have to deal with something like look at this design now. Like look at this happy birthday. It's actually a script font. The other one is a serif font, while the third font is a sans serif font. So these are designs that actually shows repeated font, colors, placements that actually creates reading and brand identity. So in this designer, you see it has a goldish color. You understand? So the color of the cap Pastor Steve is putting on is kind of like uniform, but it's just of a different shade that actually gives the designing a balanced color harmony. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it matches with the gold here and these other colors in this design. You understand? So the grid system. Okay, so what grid is actually a framework for structure. So when designing, you are meant to use your grid so that it can help with your alignment in your hierarchy and in the overall look of your design. Okay, like I said, it helps in alignment of text and images, Instagram carousel, magazine spread. You understand? So we actually have different layouts. There are different layouts to use in design, in digital designs and print in printable, excuse me please, in printable designs, you understand. So the layout, we have poster layout for print, brochure and newspapers. So digital layouts for website, apps and social media, you understand. So the difference between this is print layout is interactive while digital layout is adaptive, you understand. Okay, so what are the difference between a good versus bad layout? I don't actually have an example with, of a design with a bad layout. I don't know, but from these designs you can see there are some things in common, and all of them actually, I don't know, so that I not just sound like I'm trying to praise myself or something like this, but you can tell from your own intuition that these are actually balanced designs, you understand, with good layout, you understand. So let's proceed. Okay, so the takeaway we'll be having for this class is experiment, go on Pixel Lab and create a flyer with this information I shared into this class about grid, alignment, hierarchy, and the layout, the name of the layout I made mention of. I'm not going to repeat it. The name of the layout I made mention of, and submit it on the group on Friday, so that I'll be able to check if you actually gain something from this class and see how I can correct your mistakes, you understand. Okay, so hopefully by God's grace on Saturday we'll be working on a project. And let's see how it goes, you understand. So in a quick recap of today's class, we talk about balance, how balance affects our layout, how alignment, which is also the use of rulers and the rest, affects our design, how hierarchy, header, subheader, content, using our font weight affect the look of our layout, how white space gives our layout breathability, and how grids structures our layout, and how consistency in fonts and colors affect our layout and the brand identity overall. So I'll try and dwell more on this consistency, you understand. So in a design, you're actually meant to use, like I said earlier, 3 fonts maximum. So it's just left for you to know when to use which font based on the content you are given. So if you are working with a content that has a heading, subheading, and content, you understand, the heading can contain the font with the largest width. For example, now SF Pro or Monstrat, you understand, those fonts are actually thick fonts that are bold, you understand. So those ones can go, the heavier version of those fonts can go for the header, while for the subheading or sub content, you can use a semi-bold version or a bold version of those fonts, you understand, to communicate that message. While for the content depicting like what is this all about, down on, you can use a regular or a semi-bold font. It depends on how you actually want the layout and how you want the design to feel. So if you found this class useful, don't forget to follow the channel to see more video like this, like and leave a comment on any area you feel you have a question on, and also on the group if you're on the group. And by God's grace, you'll be attending to this question and seeing how you understand these things better. So thank you for actually sticking to the end of this video, and I will see you in my next class.